Three clubs being linked to Mohammed Kudus over the last couple of days, and another reminder today for West Ham fans from a source at the club that Kudus is likely to leave this summer and we must sell before we can buy. Now, if that is true, I'm quite concerned how dependent we are on selling Mohammed Kudus, because we can't really sell Lucas Paqueta yet for obvious reasons. There's hesitation over Thomas Souček, so only really leaves Mohammed Kudus and Nate Fagerd, who have clubs after them and have a decent transfer value attached to them. But those three clubs in relation to Mohammed Kudus are Chelsea, Newcastle United and Saudi club Al-Nassr. And I want to start with the Geordies because they've been dealt a little bit of a blow, I think, with their transfer plans. Eddie Howe a few weeks ago was quite upbeat and quite bold with his statements about the upcoming transfer window and about how Newcastle United financially and with PSR were in a really good place to attack the transfer window. And it's quite a big one. It feels like a big one for them. And I still think they'll go on to do good business and be even better by the time the season kicks off in August. But they were heavily linked to Bryan Mbeumo. And I believed it. I thought that makes sense. It makes sense for Newcastle to go after Mbeumo. I think it makes sense for Mbeumo to go to Newcastle United, Champions League football, a club on the up. I think there's a vacancy within the team in his position on the right of that front three at Newcastle, replacing Murphy. I think Newcastle will be getting a Premier League proven player who's just scored 20 goals this season, plus a fee of 50, 60 million. Feels very fair for a 25-year-old. So I think it made sense for both parties and for Brentford. Thomas Frank's spoken about how they will sell Mbeumo this summer. So it made sense, tick, 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 as far as I'm concerned. But a bit of a blow this week as Bryan Mbeumo has decided he wants to go to Manchester United instead of Newcastle United. It felt strange at the time. Now, with everything that's come out afterwards, you discover his wage demands and how much he's going to be getting paid at Old Trafford. And it feels like a financially motivated move to go to Man U. But it leaves Newcastle missing out, that they're still looking for a right winger, as well as a centre-back and potentially a goalkeeper as well. So who? Who next? And Mohammed Kudus is the latest name to be linked with Newcastle. So naturally, when I'm looking at Kudus, thinking, well, if Eddie Howe looks at him and sees him in his best position as on the right of a front three, which from what I've seen at West Ham, I would be inclined to agree with that. There is potential there. It's not... I can't dismiss this transfer rumour completely. The only thing that makes me not believe it is our own price tag of 80 million is what's going about in the reports. I don't believe we'll get 80 million, but that's our asking price for Kudus. I'm just unsure I can see Newcastle forking out that much money for Mohammed Kudus. So I'm not going to write this one off completely just yet. I think if the interest was genuine, I could see the appeal of Newcastle for Kudus. I can see the appeal of Kudus for Newcastle. I think he would fit in with what they do there and how they play there, how quick they are in transition. Eddie Howe doesn't mind players that can play more than one position. I think Kudus has got that about him as well. Quite often you'll see Gordon switching sides depending on who's on the pitch with him. If it's Murphy, he'll play on the left. If it's Barnes, he'll switch over to the right-hand side. So I think there's a lot of things that would make sense. I think it's just the bulky transfer fee attached. I'm reluctant to believe this one. My gut feeling is it's no. But when I think about it, it sort of makes sense to me a little bit as to why he would end up at St James's Park, because ultimately he came to West Ham as a stepping stone. Kudus is going to Newcastle United a step up. It is. We might not like it, we might hate how it's happened, but the reality is this: Newcastle United currently are a step up from West Ham United. They're playing Champions League football next season, and if I was to tell you, I think Newcastle will either win a trophy or finish in the top four next season. It's not a ridiculous prediction or claim, is it? You go, yeah, I can see that happening. So I can see why Kudus would find going to Newcastle to play under Eddie Howe attractive. So I'm not dismissing this rumour completely. I just think perhaps the source of these rumours isn't the best one. Moving on to the new club, which is Chelsea. They've been linked to him today. And there's almost two parts to this. So the first part is that they want Kudus, and the second part is that they are trying to offer players in return for Mohammed Kudus. Now, the article that goes around with the Kudus to Chelsea story is that he's got an £85 million release clause and it's only active in the first 10 days of July. Don't worry. I don't think you need to worry about that. It's not like come the 11th of July, we won't sell him for it. I'm not even sure we'll get 85 million. I don't even think you need to worry about the release clause at all. I think a 75 million pound deal gets it done today. Would West Ham wait and hope someone comes in with it? Why would they? They would just come in now with the 85 million pound bid. So I think this release clause, it's only really applicable if the player is deemed to be above market value. Liam Delap is the perfect example. 30 million release clause. Yes, you go get that, you activate that because he's worth more. Kudus is not worth more than 85 million currently. Last summer, I don't know if I would have sold him for 85, truth be told. This summer, I'd bite your hand off for it because of the season we've just had and situation we find ourselves in. So I don't think Chelsea need to fret about the release clause. The 5 players being offered to West Ham, by the way, were apparently Robert Sanchez, the goalkeeper, Tosin, the centre-back, Chalobah, the centre-back, Dewsbury Hall, central midfielder, and Chukwuemeka, who is the attacking midfielder as well. That's the 5 players. Now, the report says that Potter and Macaulay are not keen on this type of deal. If true, and again, you can half believe it, Chelsea were interested in him when we signed him from Ajax. Sancho's just gone back to Manchester. They've just paid 5 million to send Sancho back to Manchester United. So they do need a winger. They need to replace Sancho. Their current other wingers with Sterling, they're trying to get rid of him. Nkunku's been used out wide, although he's not a winger. And the ones that are likely to stay, Madueke hasn't really been that good. Neto, I like him. I like Neto quite a lot. There is definitely a need for at least one new wide player at Stamford Bridge for next season, again, with Champions League football. So I can understand why they're looking at someone like Kudus if these rumours are to be true. But if I'm Potter and Macaulay, I'm not dismissing this deal entirely because it would give us the opportunity to use this clever. Let's just say, hypothetically, the offer was 50 million plus Dewsbury Hall for Mohammed Kudus. Swap deals don't happen very often. They're very difficult to do. That won't happen. But what it does give West Ham the opportunity to do is do one of these PSR deals other clubs do that we just don't do. We have not done one yet. And it would see Chelsea buying Kudus for, say, 80 million and we buy Dewsbury Hall for 30 million. So PSR-wise, both clubs benefit, but ultimately the net is still 50 million plus Dewsbury Hall. But PSR-wise, it allows both to go on and be a bit more adventurous, have a lot more flexibility in the transfer window because of that little deal they've done between the two teams. In terms of the players, Sanchez, not for me. Tosin, I quite like him. It would just depend on the valuation, I think, of the player. Chalobah, 100%. I think he's great. I'm a huge fan of Chalobah. I think he'd be a good age, come in, homegrown player, lock him in for the next few years at West Ham. I think he'd suit the way that Potter plays. I think he's automatically our best centre-back at the club. I would love to see Chalobah at West Ham. Dewsbury Hall, he's one of them I wouldn't be against, but I also wouldn't be doing cartwheels about it. It's like a 6 out of 10 signing for me. I'd be happy with it, and I think it would fulfil a need. It's an upgrade on what we've got currently, but I wouldn't call it, he's someone that in a year or two you're perhaps looking at thinking, we could do with upgrading him already. It's a stopgap, sounds a bit harsh, but it feels a bit like that. I'd prefer him on loan rather than buying him. Chukwuemeka, no, he's just made of glass, isn't he? Honestly, he's just broken all the time. Someone who had such promise at Aston Villa, I don't want him at West Ham. Now, there is one or two other Chelsea players. We're not going to get Andre Santos. That's off the table. That's not happening. That right back, that young right back, I can't remember his name now. So I can probably spell it. Achem. Achempong. Is that his name? Achempong. I can't remember. He's played a handful of times for Chelsea. I don't know enough about him, but he's held in really high regard as a right back. You guys will know more than I do about him. If you do, feel free to get involved in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on all these rumours. Hypothetically, you don't have to believe it to discuss it, right? That's the one thing I want to stress. You don't have to believe these rumours in order to discuss it hypothetically. You might think, well, that's pointless. That's okay. But it's something I've done all my life with my friends around football. West Ham's with my West Ham friends, but just in general, we discuss things hypothetically. We enjoy the debate. We enjoy having a chat about it. I don't know. It's something we've always done. So get involved in the comments. Hugo Chukwu, who was on loan at Southampton, punt, isn't he? Looked good sometimes. Other times I wasn't too sure, but I'd be willing to punt on him. I thought he was a really good traveller with the ball at Southampton. Couldn't really work out. I guess he's a number 8 by this nature, because I always say offensively, I don't think he offered enough. Defensively, he was pretty solid from what I can recall. But a traveller with the ball, maybe. So I don't know, is he naturally a number 8? I only know from what I've seen of him at Southampton. But it was difficult to gauge because he was used in various different ways and systems at Southampton. But I also seen Aribo used as a centre-back. So how you meant to read anything into that one? Anyway, so that's the rumours regarding Kudus. I'm going to disregard the Saudi one. Because I don't know anything about the Saudi thing. I can see why they'd want Kudus. But historically, Kudus has turned down the opportunity to go to Saudi for the money, which I completely understand. And I think that's West Ham's biggest worry, that there isn't a bid of more, that a Saudi club doesn't come in for him. Because ideally, I think we'd sell to Saudi for 85 million, done. My concern, my worry is that we're relying on selling Kudus. We can't afford to wait for the release clause window starting on the 1st of July. We can't afford for that date. That means we can't do anything until the 1st of July. We just cannot do that. That would be stupid. Unfortunately, we need to sell Kudus ASAP. And the club might find themselves in a situation where they're maybe having to take 5-10 million less than they want in order to speed up the transaction. You were to offer Sullivan, let's just say 60 million now, or 70 million on the 10th of July. Which one would you take? Now, I know what you and I would take, but we really are in this position where we have to sell. Can he afford to gamble? Actually, let me change that. Would he take 60 million now or possibly get 70 million in July? No guarantee. I think he'd take the guaranteed 60 million, because of all the rumours about how we have to sell before we buy. I don't think we have to. I think that's just how we're doing things this summer. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. There you go. That's the latest on Mohammed Kudus. Newcastle, I'm inclined not to believe it. Chelsea, not sure. I think he will go. He's going to go somewhere. We can all accept that Kudus is going to be sold. Then we're all agreeing, I think most of us are, we're all agreeing he's going somewhere. So we can't dismiss every single club linked to him by that nature then, can we? Because someone's going to buy him. And I guess the first question is, can they afford them? Saudi clubs, yes. Chelsea, yes. Newcastle, yes. They probably could. It's whether they want to pay that much for him. That's the issue. And that's where I probably think, no. Our evaluation of 80 million, I don't think we're getting that. I think it'll be closer to 60. I think that's my guesstimate as to how much I think we'll get from Mohammed Kudus. And that's why I think doing a deal with Chelsea, if we can get money and a top player in return, wouldn't be the daftest thing I've ever heard. But then again, at West Ham, the bar's pretty low, isn't it? Right, I'm off. If you've enjoyed this video, if you've enjoyed this natter about Mohammed Kudus, please do drop a like on it by clicking the thumbs up button, subscribe to New Hammer Chat, and get involved in the comments. Don't be shy, and I'll catch up with you in the comment section.